Will.
Hey, Christy, how are you?
Oh, so good. Andrea Romano is on today, and you have got to check it out.
It is absolutely unbelievable everything this woman has done, and one lucky fan will actually be directed by Andrea Romano. No joke.
I hear voices.
All right, so that's it. We're pretty much started. That's how it goes here on I Hear Voices. And
Fake out.
Everybody out there, folks, this is one I have been waiting for a while for a very specific reason.
too.
Not only because this is one of my favorite people in the history of the world, not only because this is the person who is absolutely the most directly responsible for me having any sort of a voiceover career, but it is because it is not often that you get to get inside the mind of a living legend, or that it's hyperbole when you say living legend. This person is that and more. Andrea Romano is joining us, the most amazing director in the history of voiceover. Once again, not hyperbole. So welcome, welcome. So amazing to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad this worked out. I miss you, Christy. It's so nice to spend some time with you.
Oh,
and it's just nice to have a reason to put on something other than sweat clothes.
you look
Is
beautiful.
Is it? I mean, really, at the end of the day,
it is. Okay, I've got sweatpants on. Okay, I'm not going to stand up.
Top
but the
up is
blouse
all that
is
matters.
official. It's so good. Yeah.
we
Exactly.
love
Exactly.
Oh my, we love that. Well, the first thing we were talking about a little bit off camera, off mic,
Yes.
before the record was we're trying to figure out if you guys are related.
Yeah, okay. Andrea and I, we've crossed paths just a little bit,
Right.
and the question has always been, are we related? We have the
Right.
same last name. We're both from the East Coast, I guess. We both actually have Austrian in our
Right.
blood, I guess. It's so weird.
But you're
So you could be.
Sicilian. You're for Sicilian. My
Sicilian
family.
and Calabrese.
The thing is that's so weird is Romano means of Rome.
Of Rome.
So somewhere our family was back there.
Must have
My
been.
father, who was the Italian side, says that Naples is where his family has most recently or had most recently
Mine,
congregated.
I believe mine too, though.
Oh, it's getting closer.
And they were
Well-
royal. Mine were royal, not bakers, but they were cooks, royal chefs.
Oh, I know nothing about that part. But
Okay.
I think we do need to research this a little bit more. The
We
other
should.
side of my family, my mom's side of the family, which was the Austrian, Swedish, Jewish part of the family, they did do a family tree there, but nobody's done the family tree for the Romano side. So I'll see if we can't get a little bit of information, and then you and I will communicate and we'll find out if, in fact, there is some distant... Although what's weird about the whole thing, Christy, is we never worked together. We never actually
This is
did a get
sad.
together.
I've been trying to
I'm
rectify
retired.
this. Oh,
Well, we're going to talk
that's
about
okay.
that too.
Okay.
We're working together now. We're talking about it. But
Exactly.
and you know what? I love you like family. And we
Thank
both have
you.
glasses on today. We're getting to see each other's
See,
face.
because then we can see better.
There's a thing. I don't know, Will, but I think she and I kind of look alike.
I absolutely see it. I absolutely see it. And I think somewhere we're going to find out that not only are you related, but also Kevin Bacon. Because isn't that the way it works with everything?
Yeah, somewhere, some degrees.
He's
of there.
he's your cousin, both of you. That's what
I thought
connects
it
you.
was Jason. I thought it was
Kevin-
Jason Marsden.
Jason Marsden connects everything. At
After
the
we
end
talked
of the
That's
day.
true.
today.
That's true.
It's
too.
it's the 2 degrees of Jason Marsden. So we
And
talked a little
neither
bit
of us, by the way, sorry, neither of us
Yeah.
is related to Ray Romano. That much
Neither.
we can agree
No.
on.
or Reno
No.
or Reno.
Or Reno.
No.
Or Reno. There's a lot of now that you know. It's
There
funny
are.
when you say them out loud. There's a lot of Romanos out there.
There are.
One Friedle. Only
Is
one
that
Friedle.
all?
Yeah.
In
Well,
the
there's some
industry.
Friedles, but we don't talk to them.
Right. Oh.
So yeah, totally different. But you say you grew up on the East Coast, so not to go right back to childhood, but did you always know you wanted to do something in the entertainment industry?
I did. That very phrase I have quoted many times, which is, I at a very young age, I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I didn't know in what capacity. Didn't know if I wanted to be an actor or a director or build sets or be, I didn't know if it was in the theatrical world of plays and theater or if it was going to be in TV. And back in those days, streaming was not even a concept. But I had a very large family. I come from a family of 8 kids, 2
Wow.
boys, 6 girls. And so I thought I turned that off. Did you hear that,
Ooh.
Dave?
That's okay. That just means people
Sorry.
like you.
I'm really sorry.
It's a
I'm turning
better
it off.
podcast.
No.
It's a better.
Impossible. But there was two things I decided at a very young age. I wanted to work in the entertainment industry. And when I got married, because in those days, we're talking about 1960, back in those days, you got married. You know, when you were a girl, you got married. That was part of your, what kind of man are you going to marry? Well, I wanted to marry someone from a foreign country for whom English was not their first language, who still spoke with an accent and was an artist. I was that specific at like 10 years old.
Wow, that's amazing.
I am married now 31 years to Rogério Nogueira, who's a Brazilian artist who speaks with a Brazilian accent still and would certainly be willing to lose it, but I am like, no, I love that part. I love when you say things.
You're like, that's part of the deal, man.
Oh, man, it's so good.
Oh, we love it. We love Rogério.
Really
I would also like to point out, when it comes to Rogério, I think I'm still one of the few people in the world that has an original Rogério oil painting hanging on his wall.
You and me. We are the only two.
That's it. Just the two of us.
That's it.
He is a phenomenal artist, and very, very quick Rogério story. Andrea and I, so we had become friends. She cast me in Batman Beyond. We'll get into all of this, but we'd become friends, and she introduced me to her husband, Rogério. And I invited you over to our home at one point, and in my bathroom, hanging on my wall, was the first album I'd ever gotten in my life, and it was the Weird Al Yankovic did an album, and it was the cover was this beautiful cartoon that was very intricate. And as a kid, when I couldn't sleep, I used to pull out the album and stare at it and try to pick out all the little things that were in this album cover. And Rogério was the artist that had done the album cover.
No way.
What are the chances of that happening? Truly. And so he says, I did that. I am freaking out. I mean, the chances of the artist being there to see the album cover. And so he signed it for me, obviously. And I said, do you do any kind of watercolor or any kind of paintings? And he said, I'm actually trying to get more into that. And I commissioned him to do an oil painting, and it is still hanging over my bar to this day. It is like the first thing you see when you walk into the house.
It's great.
I'm so honored to have it.
I'm so glad. I'll tell him.
I've had it for years. Oh, please
I'll tell
do.
him that you mentioned it. It'll make him very happy.
Just a very quick Rogério story about we talk about the 6 degrees of separation. Of the chances of that happening are so slim and It was crazy, but it was hanging on my wall.
And then, throughout the years, I got to know Al Yankovic and hired him many times. And he's a terrific voiceover guy and a really, really nice human being.
Really nice human being. Yeah. When I was 12, I did a show on Nickelodeon called Don't Just Sit There. And one of the first interviews that I had to do, I was interviewing Weird Al Yankovic and Michael Richards together for UHF.
Wow.
That was a tough interview, but so much fun. But anyway, sorry, that was off on the Rogério.
6 degrees. But the one thing before we leave, I want to go back to Christy for 1 second. You said you're half Italian, half Jewish, somewhere like that.
Okay, so 50% Italian. The other 50% is Swedish and German. Okay, but the German part is actually
German
we're for sure Swedish, but the German is the tricky part where it's like I think we might have actually been German Jewish because somebody found a menorah in somebody's, box and they were hiding it and then they came over. Yeah, it's weird.
I was going to mention it simply because I wanted to give you a line that I'm happy to share with you, which is when people ask me about my ethnic background, I say I'm half Italian and half Jewish, so I have lust and guilt.
Exactly.
Which is just the perfect combination of things.
There you go.
And they're
sounds like me.
They really are similar.
We are definitely related then.
Yeah. There you go. I think that is quite. Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. That's that would be fun. So we're gonna have a project now.
We're gonna prick our fingers at the end of this and mail it in.
The listeners from I Hear Voices are going to start web sleuthing and finding out.
Hey,
if
great
you guys are
name for a podcast, by the way. I like it very much.
Thank you. All credit to Brendan. This was actually Brendan's idea.
Yes. I keep forgetting.
Your husband came up with the idea for the name. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Very good. I like it very much.
We thought it was fun. But speaking of voices, so you are now, you know what you want to do. You are very specific in what you want, who you want to marry, but you know you want to do something. You're more specific about that than what you want to do in the industry.
Absolutely. But what I can tell you is that I was a huge cartoon fan as a very young child. And
do you remember which ones?
Oh, God, yes. Huckleberry Hound was my favorite. Huckleberry Hound was so great. And I can tell you exactly why. It took me a very long time to figure out why was I so in love with that cartoon. And it's because it's the first time that a character, for me, that I was aware of, broke the fourth wall. Huckleberry Hound spoke right to camera. Yeah. And so Huckleberry Hound was talking right to me through the TV. It was a personal connection. It was not just a cartoon. It was, and if I didn't get in front of the TV before the main title card and the episode title came up, I was distraught because I had failed my friend Huckleberry Hound. I didn't know what the joke was going to be about the name of the episode. Some writer took a lot of time to come up with a title and I didn't see it. I don't know what it is.
Oh, man.
And I did get the pleasure, the joy, the honor of meeting and working with Dawes Butler, the voice of Huckleberry Hound, many years later. And when I told him what a huge fan of Huckleberry Hound I was, he spoke to me as Huckleberry Hound, and I just burst into tears. I mean, it was an instantaneous reaction. I had no idea I would react that way, but it was just like being completely transported back to being 5 years old in front of the TV in feety pajamas, with a bowl of Rice Krispies and just waiting for the next word. So I love that cartoon. And I also, most of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons of that era I loved, but I also loved the Jay Ward cartoons, the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, the Fractured Fairy Tales. Yep. And I know I didn't get all the jokes back then, but I enjoyed them so much. I enjoyed the show so much. And then as an adult, I enjoyed them as well because there was a lot of adult humor. But they did such a good job of mixing the two that this was one of the first instances that I'm aware of where parents and kids could watch a cartoon together and really enjoy it. And that's what you want, is an evergreen like that. Something that the kids will watch, the parents will watch, everybody's happy. And then ideally the kids will watch it again when they're adults. And so
it still works.
And that's, by the way, what we're seeing with Kim Possible now. But
neat.
I have two little kids now. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old,
cool.
And I can attest for the fact that there are lots of options in streaming. There are almost too many options.
Yes.
Now, whenever I launch my Netflix, there's something new popping up as an icon. That's an actual character that represents an entire series.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. I'm sorry, go ahead, Christy.
No, and then it's when I think about the things, because kids, they have such fickle ideas about who they are from day to day. My daughter's a mermaid. Next day, my daughter's Spider-Man. So it's like they have such fickle tastes that they're almost at a disadvantage now to have too many options.
I agree.
To identify with at any point in time. We actually have my kids watching a lot of the older shows. So now, we have them watching. We have them watching Magic School Bus, the original Magic School Bus.
Good one. Very good.
And
there are classics. There are classics that kids should be aware of because they will constantly be referenced socially. They're just in our lives. We're a slightly different generation, I think. But the thing is, way back when, you guys, when I first started working in cartoons, which would have been like 1980. Well, I was a voice agent in 1980. So I was dealing with, submitting actors for cartoons back in 1980. During that time, there was a handful of actors doing all the voices for all the cartoons. All the actors who did the Smurfs also did all the voices for the Snorks, also did all the voices for practically every other Hanna-Barbera cartoon. But there was only about 20 of them that did the majority of the work. And then Gordon Hunt and I were working together at Hanna-Barbera. This would be about 84. And we said, we need to open this up a little more. We need to get more talent in. And Gordon had been the casting director at the Mark Taper Forum in downtown Los Angeles. This is a theatrical casting director. And he said, there's a bunch of people that are really ripe for this. They would be very good at this. And of course, it makes sense that actors who do theatrical work, stage work, it requires a little bit more energy than television or film work. The camera catches everything. You can do things very small and it is caught and observed and it's blown up. Theatrically, you have to be a little bit louder, a little bit broader, just a little bit. I'm not talking about, huge commedia dell'arte. I'm talking about just being broader. And that's what you need in animation too. For the most part, we still want it to be real. There's some very extreme fantasy stuff you want to do that's a little bit more out of the ordinary. But so Gordon and I decided, let's start bringing in other actors. And I do believe we were responsible for opening up the field. And then, as you can see by history, it went wild. I mean, everybody, when I was an agent, people would say, I don't voiceover, animation, God, no. And by the time I retired, people were like, my 10 clients, all of whom are enormous celebrities, have screamed, please work with them before you retire, Andrea, so they can have that experience of. And, it completely changed during my career, which was lovely because I had a much larger talent pool. But I want to go back a second, Will. You asked me about the cartoons that I watched and what were my favorites. The thing is, back then, you guys, cartoons were available. And Christy, you mentioned this when you talk about the enormous choices your kids have right now.
Too many,
There were Saturday morning cartoons. And there were weekday afternoon cartoons. And that was it. There was no Cartoon Network yet. You could not get a cartoon. You could not watch a cartoon. There was no VCR yet. This was it. If you wanted to watch cartoons. So I would rush home from school. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd get home, flip on the TV in Mom and Dad's bedroom, where the second TV was, and watch sitting on Mom's bed when I should be folding clothes for the 7 other siblings I have and all the other things we were supposed to, the chores we were supposed to do. But I would sit there and watch Huckleberry Hound or Fractured Fairy Tales or whatever until I could hear my mom's car drive up on the Bluestone driveway and go, oh no, I didn't fold the clothes. I became the master of the quick fold. I could fold clothes so quickly, and even out the bed and turn the TV off and go do the chores. What I found out many years later from my mom when I had the joke with her about, did you ever think it would pay off how much I loved cartoons, Mom, was these were the days of the television tubes that warmed up and cooled down. And when they cooled down, they tick.
Yep,
right?
like a car.
Right, they would tick.
Yep.
And so she would come home from work and go into her room to change her clothes. And of course she'd hear the TV ticking. I never busted me on it. Never busted
me.
Oh,
that's great.
Adorable.
I remember it was also, you had the channel changer was a switch that you change back.
A dial.
And
it was a knob.
My dad was a dial. My dad would always say when you got into the higher stations and we go really fast, you'd always hear from the other room, "Don't change the channel so fast."
Do you want to know?
Will we break it?
The modern day version of this is that my daughter has a Fire iPad, an Amazon Fire iPad, right? And I can literally go in and see her viewing time, how much she's watched on it. So if I want to peek in on that.
1984, Mom.
Yeah, but you can see how much they've been, you can see how much time they've had on their screen.
Right.
Sure.
And you can kind of try to limit it or whatnot. But that's the modern day version of the clicking old fashioned TV.
It's true. It's true.
Somebody told me recently that their daughter said to them with an appalled face, "Were you born in the 1900s?"
Wow.
1900s.
Honey, when else would I be born? Like, come on, do the math.
That seems to them like
they have no concept of time.
Was that horse and carriage time, Mom?
Every time I think about stuff like that, the great line from When Harry Met Sally comes into my mind where he says, "Hey, you having fun with your new girlfriend?" He says, "Yeah, she's just a little young. When I said to her, 'Where were you when Kennedy was shot?' She said, Ted Kennedy got shot." So it is that same kind of, you hear certain things and you go like, oh, well, I mean, have you seen the video? It was a famous, I think on the YouTubes or something, it went what the kids are calling viral, where it's one of the rotary phones and the parents put a number on it and the kids they filmed their kids trying to make a phone call.
I had no idea.
And it was like for 4 minutes, they didn't even have the receiver up. They were like hitting the buttons, and the guy goes, "Wait, I think you got to lift this thing." I mean, you're looking at it going, you've got to. It changes so quickly, and then it's forgotten so quickly.
Absolutely. Well, I was talking yesterday about MySpace. Do you remember that thing?
Of course.
That exists. That's so long gone, and yet it's cutting edge.
It's done.
But here and gone.
It's not.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to say, and this is again just. Because you never do this for yourself. You talk about how, by the time you started in the industry, it was one way, and by the time you finished in the industry, at least casting the actors and how that was a completely different thing. You are one of the people responsible for that. I mean, it's not just that you were there to witness it happen. You were one of the architects of the way, and that is, again, not to, hey, you're here, so I'm going to kiss your butt. But it's one of those things where you had that several times in your career, because one of the other things we've talked about on this show, when the amazing Kevin Conroy was on as our guest, who I always talk about as my mentor and the voiceover acting side, we talk about how cartoons were essentially cartoons until Batman the Animated Series came out, and then it was no longer a cartoon. It became an animated series. These were not cartoon actors. These were actors who happened to be doing voiceover. So you changed the number. First, you changed the number of actors that really had a shot at this part of the craft. And then you changed the craft itself. Can you talk a little bit about that transition from the cartoon to the animated series? Because it was, a shot fired across the entire industry.
It's amazing to me, and thank you for such nice words. Thank you for saying all those kind things. You don't think about, or I didn't think about the fact that I was doing those things. It's like when you first became an on-camera actor, I'm sure you didn't go to the set and say, I could be a jerk, I could be a nice guy. Let me try being a jerk. You just went, it seems right to me that I should be a nice guy. And so you did your job that way. Well, I looked at this, and I had a great mentor in Gordon Hunt. He was such a brilliant voice director, and so many things I learned from him, including providing a space for actors to feel comfortable to do their best work. And I just read an interview of one of my favorite actors that I never got to hire, and he's not really an actor, but I wanted him to be, was Alex Trebek. I just loved him. He's my one failure. I didn't get a chance to work with him, and I met him several times, and I met him at the Emmys one day, holding an Emmy, and I said, will you come work? Yes, I do many voices. I would love. I said, I know, I hear your voices. But he had just done an interview, I think in maybe the Television Academy's magazine, the Emmy magazine or something, but he said that his job was to make a wonderful space for the competitors on the show. And I thought, well, that was my job too, as far as making a comfortable space for actors to feel like they could open up. And for the cartoony shows, they could be goofy, really be crazy. And I don't mean goofy literally. I mean, they could be crazy. They could do whatever they wanted. And sometimes that's where you want people to go on a cartoony show. Go farther, be sillier, be broader, make that laugh, ha ha ha, be ha ha, huge, go for it. But creating that environment where it's more of a theatrical event requires a couple of things. It requires a really good producer, which we had in Bruce Timm, and Paul Dini and Alan Burnett and all the various people that worked on Batman the Animated Series. You need fantastic writers, which we had, and you need a cast who understands that we're all doing this together and that it's not a competition of any sort. Once you've got the job, you got the job. And so you don't have to compete with the other actors. All you have to do is your best work. And so I figured out, what is the best way for me to get the best work from the actors? Well, let's get the scripts to them ahead of time. Let's not let it be a secret from when they get to the session.
Right, exactly.
What are my words today? So I made a great effort to make sure, and this is back in the day, you guys, when we were typing scripts on a typewriter and copying them on a copy machine and sending them by messenger to the actors' homes.
Yeah,
which was a very expensive process, but they let me do it. And I thought, this is going to save us a lot of time in a recording studio, which at the time, the minimum charge of a recording studio is $250 an hour. So if I'm saving an hour for every session for 65 episodes, I'm saving a goodly amount of money. It's worth it. Let the actors have it ahead of time. Then the actors have the chance to come up with ideas of their own, to think of things of possible ways to play a scene, because there's not just one way to play a scene. But when I would prep a script, I would hear the actors' voices play the scene out, and I would get an idea of what I thought the scene should sound like. And I knew I needed to get that because I knew that would work. Having been such a cartoon fan, having worked in animation for many years by the time Batman the Animated Series came around, I knew what would work. And so sometimes I would give line readings, I confess, but you do it fast and furiously so the actors don't know what's happening, and you just say, echo me, I want to go there. Actor goes, I want to go there. Got it. Moving on. And then the actor doesn't go, oh man, she line read me. then you go back and say, now, how did you want to do that line? Let me make sure we got your version of what you wanted to do there. And you run the scene again. That empowers the actor, too. And that's what you want, is the actor feel like they are a contributing force, not just a technician. And that's why I hire actors and not technicians to do voices. You want people who can bring something to the party. And that's kind of how I always referred to my work, was casting was like casting a party. Who's going to be fun together? Who's going to have a good time together? Who's going to bring something to the party? And then the recording sessions was kind of like the actual party itself. And, you know, everybody wants to make cartoon characters talk dirty. So there was always somebody that could say something dirty and let them do that and then move on. And then what we found is Batman the Animated Series became a family. It truly became a family of Kevin Conroy, and he was the dad. And then, you know, all the various people, whether it was Adrienne Barbeau or, you know, Bobby Costanzo or, you know, all these wonderful people who came to play. What happened in that show, and you guys are really familiar with this, is, you know, the Screen Actors Guild allows us to use an actor for 3 voices, essentially for one price. There's a bump for the 3rd voice. But you do yourself a favor by being versatile. You have a better chance for work if you can do a couple of extra voices. And so, but in that show, in Batman the Animated Series, we wanted what we call, or what I called anyhow, a voice with character for some of these guys, as opposed to someone doing a character voice. So Bobby Costanzo sounds like Bobby Costanzo. He's going to sound like an Italian New Yorker, and that's the way he's going to sound, and he really can't sound any different. Now, within those confines, he can do a bunch of different characters, but not in the same episode, and not in the same series. Everybody's going to always go, that's Bullock. I know that's Bullock's voice. So, but that's a voice with character, right? As opposed to, say, Rob Paulson doing Pinky, of Pinky and the Brain. That's doing a character voice. Yeah. So I had a whole bunch of actors like that in Batman the Animated Series, who were actors who had voices, like Bob Hastings, who played Commissioner Gordon. He had a really recognizable voice. And while he could kind of do other voices, you could always hear Bob Hastings in that character. So I had the chance to get a lot of guests in because I had these regulars who couldn't cover the incidentals for me. And that was okay because we were a brand new series and we were embarking on a whole new way of making cartoons. And of course, the ensemble record was crucial. Having everybody there in the room at the same time, because you guys know, your actors, half of acting is reacting. And while I'm a fair actor and I can give you the line up to your line so that you have something to act against, always better to have the 2 actors acting together. I'm sure when you guys were doing Kim Possible, it was a much more fun, much more... It was not. You didn't work.
No, it was great fun. We never recorded together.
Yeah, it was great fun. Lisa did Lisa Schaefer's a testament to her directing style. I mean, she was at a disadvantage. I had gone to college. So our pilot
she was in New York.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was in New York. They were patching me in. I think there was a couple times they were able to hear me.
Right.
But I don't, look, if we were to come back, which would be amazing, that would be a stipulation I think that all of us should really stand behind. Is let's all be together. Let's like really do this all together. And to your point, Andrea, I would really want to try to challenge myself and beg them, guys, let me do other voices. Because... Right. So I was hired to do Kim, right? And I had a little bit of imposter syndrome and still do to this day. That's kind of, and I'm sure you've heard, you may have heard this before in certain actors, but I was hired to be authentically 16. Like that was one of the reasons they liked me as my voice, was that I could be sarcastic, but I could also be girly. And I happened to be the age, and of course, synergy, because I was on other things for Disney. But for so many years, I've felt very insecure about my voice talent. It's so refreshing to hear you say, like, just because you don't necessarily do a million voices, it doesn't make you any less of a voice actor. Right. It just makes you a different sort. But I will say I would love to be challenged, if that's possible, to do that in the future.
Absolutely. You should be given the chance. You should. Why not? I mean, it helps them because it's cheaper. And Will can attest to the fact that for Batman Beyond, which, by the way, was one of my all-time favorite series I worked on, and the fact that we never made a big fat feature, like a real, honestly, in the movie theater feature, I know. Nor that it hasn't come back yet, because I think it should. We did so many panels and Comic-Cons, and
people
and
love
I do miss those Comic Cons, but they're now, for me, they're cootie cons. There's too much.
You'll come back. You'll come back.
I will. But I love that fan. I love hearing from the fans and what they like and stuff. But my point is, there were times when I would say, you know what? I have one incidental. He's a thug who works for so-and-so, and he says, let's go. I have no problem giving that to Will and having him do 4 different versions of it, and we'll find one that works absolutely. Yeah. And Kevin
but
Conroy.
I don't do. Yeah, but I mean, Andrea, we've talked about this to this day, and I've been doing this a lot now, and I've had the opportunity to do more stuff. But I will never be known as the person that does 30 voices. I'm not that kind of actor,
and that's okay, right? And that's okay. We need all these different types of actors. We need them all. We need people like you guys know who Sterling Holloway is.
Sure,
Sterling Holloway was the voice of Winnie the Pooh, and that was a very specific voice with character, right? Yeah. He did not have versatility. That said, Jim Cummings, who now does the voice, does a zillion voices. A zillion voices. Yeah. But he took the voice of Winnie the Pooh from someone who had a voice with character and learned how to do it.
Got it.
But there's a need for all different kinds of actors that way. Where was
That's
I?
wonderful. I really want to say thank you for your take on that because living with that imposter syndrome to play Kim and feel almost like I was like sort of like a stunt hire.
Stuck in there, yeah.
Yeah, it was a tape that I think I was playing in my head that really prevented me from fully investing in only like I really, if I could only do voiceover work, I would really only do voiceover work. That's how much I love it.
It's the best job in the world.
It is.
It's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
And I am very passionate about animation. Like now I'll watch things with my girls and I'll be like, oh, that'd be great. And then occasionally I'll get an audition for those things. But it's a numbers game with a lot of people may not know that about the plethora of opportunities that you get sent. It's so much more than on-camera opportunities.
Absolutely. And characters you'd never get to play on camera.
So
ever.
Fun.
Right?
It's the only place I could be cool is when we're animated. It's true. It's true.
You can't. He got
you
the girl.
You wedge
Ron
me into a
Kim.
bat suit? No, but my voice will be able to do it. There's not enough Crisco in the world to get me into a Batman Beyond suit.
Stop.
But voiceover, hey, I can say I'm Batman, and it's.
And isn't that fantastic? Isn't that
it's amazing.
A wonderful part of the industry?
It's amazing.
That actors who I was able to bring in and say, here's something that they would probably never get cast as on camera, but would you consider coming in to play? And they're like, yes. I've always wanted to, and I know I don't look that part, but doesn't matter. You sound the part.
It's the best.
It is. And the stretches that people make. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, Andrea, then do you actually hear like potential in people's voice? Like, how do you hear an actor's voice and then bring them in for an opportunity like that? What is it about the magic?
I don't do that as much as a lot of other people do. I tend to bring in actors. Yeah, I say this if I'm still working.
We'll talk about that later.
I tended to bring in actors whose work I was familiar with. If they were on-camera actors, and for example, there was this great actor, and I'm going to forget his name now. I'm going to be so embarrassed about it. Wonderful, raspy voice. And I saw him on an episode of Castle. And Nathan Fillion, I've gotten to know over the years, and he's a friend of mine. And so I called up Nathan, and I said, Nathan, you had a guest star on your show. His name is blah, 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 that raspy voice. Is he somebody you think might enjoy the experience of coming into an animation project and be a good guest? Would he have fun? Would he get it? And he's like, absolutely, great guy. You're going to love him. And I brought him in, and he was wonderful. So there I had the ability to get some information on the guy. Many of the people that I have worked with that I did not know their work ahead of time, either from voiceover work they had done previously or on-camera work I had seen, were submitted by agents. And my relationship with agents is very strong. Part of that is because I was an agent and I know exactly what that job entails and how hard it is. And I had so much respect for people who do it well. And so when I would call up Cynthia McLean and say, I need a guest for blah, 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 it's what we call a gimme. I called it a gimme, which is, does anybody need a SAG payment to be able to pay for their health insurance this year? Is there somebody who's in dire straits who might leave you if they don't get a job because they haven't gotten anything in the last 2 months or whatever? And they'd say, yeah, Cynthia would say, yes, this person will absolutely be right for you. And I wouldn't even question it. I would just say, send them in. Or even better, because we could, Have him call me 2:00 on Tuesday. Send him this copy. Have him look it over. I'll have him audition for me over the phone. And if it's right, we'll just book him. And that's so great voiceover. You can't do that for on camera. You couldn't back then anyhow, certainly.
Right.
And so then I could listen to them. And also then I got a chance to see what kind of person they were. Were they pleasant on the phone? Were they completely intimidated by the process? Were they game? And so that's a lot of, I would get calls from producers, writers, people in the industry who worked in the same building as I met this waitress. She's got this great voice. You got to meet her, blah, blah, blah. And I would give them a chance. I'd have them call and I would listen to them. And you could tell right away if they're an actor or not. You can just tell. Give them some copy to read if they can act it. There was this one guy that came in once. This was such a weird thing. It was a mistake. I wasn't the casting director, but I was the director. An actor with the same name as another person. The producer wanted that other person. This guy came in, he walked in, the producer goes, it's the wrong person. I said, it's okay, I'll just run them through the session. Well, I'll just run them through the session. This person was kind of a celebrity that they wanted, in a different field. I don't know if they were a singer or they were a musician, I think. But the guy comes in, I said, I'll let him do this session. If I see any potential, I'll work him through it. Otherwise, I'll just run him through the session so that he's not embarrassed, and we'll let him go. And so he reads the copy, and he says, oh no, they're coming over here. Gasp.
Oh, thank you.
And so I just went, okay, we're going to get through this really fast, you guys. And we just ran the session.
Oh,
but
no.
I mean, that's, those kinds of things are so silly because we know that gasp was in parentheses. That means you don't say that word. You do that thing. If it says sneeze, you don't say sneeze, you sneeze. But that's when you could tell. That all of this being said about actors or non-actors being presented to me, there was one time when someone called me up and we were looking for a guest voice for a 13-year-old girl, authentic sounding, just as you mentioned, Christy. Mm-hmm. And they said, I've met this girl and she is an actress and she has worked. I think she worked on Broadway, they said. I said, have her call me. And she calls me and she was stunning. And she's Hynden Walsh. And she works all the time.
Oh, come on.
That was one of those phone calls.
That's how Hynden was found? Really?
I brought her in for a guest. I think it was the Zeta Project or one of those shows way back when. And she was incredibly good. So when she called me up, I said, Hynden, this is, you don't have to answer this because SAG doesn't want you to make your decisions by this as a casting director. But do you mind telling me how old you are? Because you sound 13 or 14. Yeah. She said, I'm 27. And it was just that wonderful, youthful sound that she had. It was so natural. Like you, Christy, at the time when you were doing Kim Possible, which was not having to manipulate your voice. You just acted.
Yeah. Yes.
And so she was awesome. She also happened to have done, and this was a lot to her credit as she was telling me what her experience had been. Do you know there was a movie made of it, but it was a Broadway show called Little Voice?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You guys?
I do,
It's a frightened little quiet girl who barely speaks and lives in a hovel with her mom, completely intimidated, who does
sounds funny.
Brilliant voices. Sings like Judy Garland. Absolutely stunning things in the privacy of her own little hovel, right?
Right.
And so she played this part, so I knew she had the guts.
She had the chops. She
had the goods, exactly. But I'm always willing to give an actor a chance. Having been an actor myself, I always tried to treat actors the way I wanted to be treated when I was trying to pursue acting work, which is with respect and kindness and giving the actor everything I can to help them get the job. And, as a casting director, you succeed the second you've cast the part. So if it happens to be the second actor you've brought in, woohoo! You've done your job really fast and well. And we spoke about Kevin Conroy. I auditioned. I heard well over 500 voices. I called back 250 actors, and I auditioned them through a callback process. And Bruce and I had found 4 or 5 actors that we were okay with Batman. They could do it. And then I asked my sweet roommate, who's no longer with us, but who was an on-camera agent. And he said, do you know this actor, Kevin Conroy? He's got a lot of Broadway experience. And he's done, Shakespeare. And he's a graduate of Juilliard. And he's got a couple of soap opera credits and stuff. And I said, well, bring him in for the callbacks. And Kevin walked in, and opened his voice,
and
I heard the cork bottle opening for the celebration afterwards because he approached it, and it was so fascinating. He approached Batman, Bruce Wayne, like Hamlet.
Mm-hmm. He said that, yeah.
Father killed.
Yeah.
Family killed. Parents killed in front of him. Vengeance. I mean, there was so much about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is the guy we need.
Well, that's when he told us a story where he didn't get it. Where he didn't get the part. Not that he didn't get the role. He didn't get Batman. He didn't get the character. Yes.
Yeah.
And
he actually
was
wasn't
there,
on the script. Did he throw the script away?
Yeah. Bruce was talking to him. So let me tell you about the comic books. And he said, and then finally he said, "Oh, it's Hamlet."
That's exactly right.
That's what made him snap into it. And he said, from that moment on, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do, and that's how it was.
Exactly right.
Okay, so very quickly, we jumped ahead because I wanted to, and it was awesome. But let's
and you
also
said we could.
We can. This is the joy of running all over the place. However,
yes.
We missed a very important section of your career because it is the growth of the industry in your Hanna-Barbera years. We talked about it a little bit, but Hanna-Barbera at the time, you talked about how there was no Cartoon Network. They were kind of the game. Disney was around, but doing more kind of the bigger films.
Correct.
For television, which is what the kids were running home to, Hanna-Barbera was the gold standard.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your time was like there and what it was like to watch the growth of animation from the front lines?
Building.
Sure. Do
you remember that building?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Hanna-Barbera.
You know what? They wanted so much to keep that building and not knock it down because it was a historical site.
Sure. But it's LA.
I'm telling you that my office was located at the end of a corridor. And if I closed my door, if I pushed it closed that way as opposed to closing this way, the whole wall, all the way down the hallway. It was a horrible building.
So it wasn't a code. It was the circle, right? We're talking about the circle.
The editors were down below in the basement. The sound editors, Kelly Foley Downs, down in the basement. Oh, geez,
Kelly was down there.
Where every hour, a sump pump would activate and work to keep the water out of the basement there. So the guys trying to edit the sound with headphones and razor blades and the whole thing it was unbelievable, but extremely cool.
Yeah.
When I started there,
which was
this would have been 1984.
Okay.
1984. The average cartoon was ordered for 13 episodes. That was an order for a cartoon. If it was kind of known that it was there was real plans for it to go longer, they might order 26 in the first order, which was woohoo!
Insane.
And then during my time there, they went to 65 episodes.
Right.
Which was unbelievable. I mean, people were like, I can buy a house. I can get my new car. I can rest a little bit. I don't have to worry so much. This job that I just got is going to run for 2 years, which was unheard of. 13 episodes could be recorded as quickly as 3 months.
Yeah.
65 episodes is going to take a while to produce. You had work for a while. Mm-hmm. And so that was a big change. And what happened during that time was, it's not always the most positive reason why it happened. The result was good, but cartoons became syndicated because toy companies discovered that if kids could see a 22-minute commercial for Transformers, for GoBots, for
G.I. Joe,
whatever toys,
you name it.
They had a lot better chance of selling those things. So they started ordering more and more cartoons. For example, when we were making action figures started, little tiny characters of, whether it's the little pop things that we see now that are so cute or whatever, the Jetsons. They had originally made 26 episodes of the Jetsons way the heck back when. And then syndicated, they went, let's make 41 more because they had lost an episode. There's an episode that's out there somewhere that's gone.
I've heard about this.
And they wanted to make 65 for syndication and then started selling Jetsons because that was a nostalgia thing. And people are like, oh my goodness, I can get, and I have one of these. It's like a Jetsons flying saucer that's a kid's cereal bowl. And the top of it has Astro across the top of the clear bowl. And I mean, it's so cool. But again, this was all about merchandising, which is a major part of animation. It just, You can't deny that part of the industry.
Why is it, do you think? Why is merchandising such a big part of this? Because it keeps the lights on for animation to make sense?
Money. It's all money. It's all money.
Okay.
Where did the money come from to make cartoons in the first place? Commercials.
Yeah.
Right.
Where do those commercials come from? Toy companies. Where do those toy companies? Well, if they can promote and have a cartoon that has their characters moving around in it, the kids are going to go, Mommy, I want that for Christmas. And suddenly their toy sales go crazy.
And it worked. It worked because that's that's how old I was when I was 8 years old when Thundercats, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and it was a toy juggernaut. And that's all you would do is what you had and what you could play with on the playground was all that mattered.
Mine was Ghostbusters.
There you go.
I had everything. Slimer, the sheets, the whole play.
And this was the time. This was when it happened. And so cartoons and animation in general just exploded. And I was very grateful to be there. But what happened is it got to be a factory. And people have often referred to Hanna-Barbera as a cartoon factory because we were just cranking them out. There were times when I would say, as you know, but for the audience, cartoons are essentially recorded in 4-hour blocks, 9 to 1, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday. And we would have as many as, I don't think I'm lying when I would say at least 6 to 8 cartoons recording every week.
Wow.
So that only left me a couple of days to cast. I had to prep the whole week coming up the week before so that I would have time to get all the prep done, to get things done before the session recorded and all that stuff. So, and there's one of those, a cultural phenomenon, and I hope I'm not discouraging any of your fans, but Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo is such a phenomenon in that it was on the air when I was a kid, and it's still on the air. Scooby-Doo episodes still being made. I worked on many of them at Hanna-Barbera and then later at Warner Brothers when Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera became one. I was never a huge fan of the show. Forgive me. And I never understood its appeal.
You're entitled to your opinion.
But so I started asking people when I started working on it in the later years, what is the attraction? And I figured it out. Kids can watch Scooby-Doo and get scared, but know that it's going to end up okay. That it's going to be the guard that's really the bad guy.
Yeah,
that
there are no monsters.
No, exactly. It's just a sheet and a projector. It's not, and I think that's very appealing because kids like to be scared. They do. They like that. That's when you throw them up in the air and they scream so happy and then you catch them. The catching is the reveal. In the Scooby cartoons, they reveal that it's just the guard at the gate who's been doing the whole thing.
The thing that always upset me was that the guard would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
I know.
That's the thing that's so crazy about the whole thing going on. You know how many decent human beings they've foiled from just trying to make a living as a ghost or something like that? I mean, come on.
Yeah, true.
So I have to do this now, just because I think this is necessary, and I'm only going to read some, but I want to go down your resume just a little bit if we can.
Okay.
Batman the Animated Series, Ben 10, Tiny Toon Adventures, Animaniacs, Bonkers, Freakazoid, Pinky and the Brain, Teen Titans, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, Boondocks, Static Shock, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The list just keeps going. The podcast is an hour long. So from the research that we've done, if we've got this right, you've directed more than 10,000 voice sessions, working on
1,500 episodes, right?
Yeah, 1,600 TV episodes.
1,600.
More than 50.
Did you know this?
No, you're getting into details that I don't have. Statistics I don't know.
20 video games.
Wow.
You won a Peabody Award, Lifetime Achievement Award from State University of New York, and 8 Emmys.
True. How about that?
So there's no question
there.
Where
are your Emmys? Where do you have them?
Because Andrea's Andrea. She'll never do an interview in front of her Emmys. She won't do it.
I did one. But
Did you?
This is so funny. Yeah, for John DiMaggio's film.
Oh,
film
okay.
in front of
There
my
you go.
Emmys.
Yeah.
And somebody gave me a hard time about it online. Somebody was really, I heard about it. Someone told me.
What good's an Emmy if you can't show it off?
I know. Here's the thing, you guys. During the pandemic, when it first began, and we were all in lockdown, I thought, okay, I can't bring in the girl who usually cleans my house. And that, to me, was the meaning of success. I was successful because I could afford to bring somebody in to clean my house for me, which was unbelievable. Okay, I can't bring anybody in. I'm going to clean the house from top to bottom. I'm going to do my bedroom from the top of the overhead fan to the dust bunnies under the bed. I'm going to go through the whole house. And at one point, I realized I was in my dining room polishing my Emmys.
Yup. And you know what? You have every right to. Absolutely.
It was so weird.
But
they're on my buffet in my dining room. They're on buffet.
As they
in the
should
dining
be.
room.
You should be.
They're just wonderful. I put Barbie clothes on them. I dress them up.
I
do.
that.
And people give them to me. Scott Menville's wife, Jackie, gave me a whole set of Barbie clothes to put on my Barbies.
That's adorable. And I would
Emmys.
I would literally follow your Instagram of
if I did that. If
you did that sort of thing, yes.
People
that
want
would
me
be
to,
hilarious.
but it's very sweet.
I have. It's funny because I have all the Barbie clothes. I don't have the Emmys.
Oh, I see.
So it's just a random collection of Barbie clothes.
Well, why do you have Barbie
But
clothes?
see, you're still working. You still have a chance. You're not done yet.
Speaking of
I
which,
agree.
I'm sorry,
He
but that
deserves
is a transition I have to take that right there. Because you say you're retired.
Yes.
And we know you're retired.
Yes.
But if a great project came back, what are the chances of some of us who have had the experience already and others who have yet to experience getting the chance of working with Andrea Romano? What are the chances of that ever happening again?
It's entirely possible. The problem is, I'm afraid I would be so demanding because I love my retirement. Do you know what I do every day, you guys?
What?
Anything I want.
Exactly.
Nobody has control of my day. There are so many projects that people have asked me about in that way. And I would absolutely, there's so many I would love to get back into, but I would demand an enormous amount of money. I would demand a huge amount of control. I would be like the Simpsons were when they said, you can't give us notes. You know, you just can't give us notes, and that's why they continued on and are so successful. It's like, they give them a minimal amount of notes. You know, yes, you can't say horrible swear words on The Simpsons, but other than that, you know, Matt
go
Groening
do your
just
thing.
said, no, you can't. Right.
So if Batman Beyond did a feature, would you do it?
I would be there in a minute if we could work out a deal. I would be there in a minute. I loved my work. I left early.
Yeah.
And yet, check this out, you guys. It's the cosmos. I left in 2017 is when I retired because I went blind in one eye. And there was a potential for the other eye to go blind within 3 to 5 years. And I thought, I want to travel the world and see a lot of stuff before this, if this ever should happen. Speaking of which, left eye's gotten a little bit worse. Doesn't matter. It wasn't very good anyhow. Right eye is still fine, totally fine. And I'm 5 years past that, so we're good. And there's only like a 5% chance at this point that will happen. So I feel like I will have vision for the rest of my life.
Great.
But I retired early, and we traveled. We spent a month in Tuscany. We spent a month in Asia. We spent a week in Hong Kong. We'll never be able to do that again. Yeah. And then the pandemic hit. And we all got into lockdown. And I think if I had not had that chance to travel for the 2 or 3 years that I did, I would be so angry. As it is, I feel like my retirement is being usurped by a certain political activity and the pandemic. It's stolen all of our lives. It's massively affected all of us. But at least I had that, and we will be getting back into it. But in the last 2.5 years, we've taken 2 trips, and they're driving up the California coast. That's it. And going to safe places where we don't have to check in and where we can, check in with non-contact and stuff. I'm still, that's why I'm so glad this worked out that you are doing a virtual thing instead of in person, because
for you, we would do anything. Are you kidding me?
You're so sweet. The truth is, and I hope people don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I did smoke cigarettes, and I smoked them for decades. And getting any kind of illness that affects my ability to breathe will probably be exacerbated by the fact that I smoked. So I'm extra special cautious of not getting any kind of bronchial issue that way.
Did you quit? You quit smoking cigarettes, right?
5 years ago.
So
That's
did he.
Awesome.
Did you guys smoke cigarettes together?
Of course we smoke cigarettes together.
Oh, yes. Because Will's house didn't smell like smoke. You could smoke inside.
No,
Oh
May
my God,
27th. I'm 8 years without a cigarette, May 27th.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Very,
but it
very
does.
good.
It takes its toll. You smoke that
It does.
long and that much.
Yeah.
You can't
You're
not
right.
ruin your body or hurt your body.
Well,
Yeah.
you remember, Will, when there would be actors that I would work with who clearly were smokers, and they would do a line of dialogue, and they would finish the line,
Yeah.
and there'd be this wheezing breath
Yep.
attached to the last word. And I would have to say, okay, say the line, finish the last word, hold your breath, and then you can breathe. And that way we can edit that breath out. But if you put it to the end of the line, we can't cut it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It has to be, we can't cut it. And
Yeah.
then
Oh
breathe.
man! Wow.
So it's nuts. Okay, so we're about to bring in our guest, but before we bring in our
Oh,
guest,
exciting.
Yes.
before we do that, I have one
Yes.
other question because there's something that we tend to ask everybody when they come on here. And again, you don't have to use any names whatsoever. But is there a session from your entire career, for good or for bad, that stands out to you?
A single session.
But something that happened in a session that makes you go, oh, well, here's a story that I absolutely am going to tell someday.
Well, I did direct Steven Spielberg.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And what had happened is with Tiny Toons way back when. And, you meet Steven Spielberg and I worked with him. I got to meet him many times. And every time you do, it's butterflies in the stomach. It's shaking excitement. It's superstar time. And so we had an episode that Stephen was written into. And it wasn't very many lines of dialogue. And I can't remember if it was Maurice LaMarche or Frank Welker who scratched the lines, who dummied the lines, which means they read the lines for the cartoon. And somebody at some point said, well, we wanted to get Stephen to do it. He just wasn't available. I think he was shooting something like Schindler's List or something light like that.
Some small movie.
Light stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but when the film came back and we were ADRing, they said, let's get Stephen now. I said, that will be delightful. So we had to go over to the Amblin lot because he was just so busy that he couldn't come to us. So we went over there, we set the whole thing up, and we prepped the whole thing, and Stephen have gotten his level and everything, and he's in the studio. I'm in the booth with Gene McCurdy and Tom Ruger, the head of the studio and the producer, and I just turned around for a quick reality check and just said, I'm directing Steven Spielberg. And then we did the session. Now, ADR isn't easy.
No.
It's just not an easy process. And Stephen had almost no experience, but I always love having directors do things that they have asked actors to do but haven't done themselves. And so he's doing this. And it was an absolute joy to direct him, as far as it was a really, he's playing himself, so it wasn't like he had to find the character.
Right.
And it was very simple dialogue, so we got through it. And as I've said in other interviews, so I feel somewhat safe saying this, because I think he's retiring too, is he is such a good director. And I have... Thank you, Will. Thank you.
I was waiting to see what was going to happen. I was like, okay.
And I have
like you're safe to say that.
I have saved the outtakes from that recording session.
Really?
And it's Buster and Babs. What are you doing here? I mean, it was
the best, though.
by the time we did it, it was great. I mean, once we got it, it was great. But he was extremely nervous.
Well, of course, you're totally out of your element.
And that's exactly the term I was going to use. He was out of his element. He had it was out of his control completely. And so, but I was very happy to do that. Is that the kind of story you were looking for?
Exactly. No, that's
great.
I have a million of those, Will.
That's what we're talking
of
about,
those.
good or bad. We've have some where it's like, hey, this happened to me, and I don't want to use names, but this guy did whatever. So,
Oh my gosh.
Oh
my gosh.
There's those two, I would
Remember, Will?
imagine.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I do remember, oh, my gosh.
Trying to get an actor to gasp, I need you to go, and the beep, 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 oh my gosh, he says.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I was like, wait.
Or asking an actor, a well-known actor, again, no names, this is the sound that you're making when your body hits that crate behind you. You've been knocked down. You get an impact when you get hit, and you get a sound when you hit the crate. So it's kind of, And the actor looks at me and says, "What's a crate?" Those big brown wooden boxes in that warehouse.
How do you respond to that? Like
that's what I said. The big brown wooden boxes there. Those are crazy. I mean, this was like a 60-year-old actor. He wasn't sick or anything. He just was. I think he was messing with me or whatever. But I have a million of those. And I know that you have a time limit on this, but I hope you'll invite me back again.
We would love to.
Because we talked about such a small amount of my.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my
There's
gosh!
so much left to do.
I would love to. Yes, please.
And you answered one of our other questions that we always ask, Christy. We always ask if you could work with anybody and you didn't get a chance to. Who was it? But you already said Alex
Trebek.
It's Christy.
Damn.
It's Christy.
Your cousin Christy, Andrea.
My cousin Christy.
It is Alex Trebek.
Okay.
It. Well, as I always say, my friend wrote into his script, his beautiful movie Swimming with Sharks. Actors don't die; they're just unavailable. So that is, I think, exactly how it is. But we have now got George with us.
Okay.
George is coming in.
Okay.
And it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun for George here and for us to be with George.
Wow.
Hey, George.
Hey, George. Hi.
Wow.
What a nice collection of stuff you have behind you.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
This whole thing. I love
Very
that.
nice.
Now, George, where are you from?
Originally California. Right now I live in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you moved from the Big Apple to the Orange State.
Something like that.
I know nothing of the names of cities and stuff like that. Well, welcome. This is, of course, you're here with the world famous and amazing Andrea Romano, which is pretty nuts, George.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy, trying to get a performance.
Talk about imposter syndrome kicking in right now. Whoa.
Man.
We're all just here. We're all just having fun, George. There's no imposters here.
Absolutely.
We're all just enjoying ourselves.
So, and George, have you listened to I Hear Voices yet?
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
Really? So you're a fan?
Have I ever?
Hey, we're meeting our fan.
Good. That really means a lot to us. We're really excited to roll out this new feature on our podcast, I Hear Voices, with our fans, where we're doing this amazing engagement exercise with obviously iconic people that we get to have on. And Will, do you want to explain what we're going to do?
So what we want to do is we're going to play a little game with you, and it's called, we're calling it Across the Garden. So what it is Christy and I are two mice. And we are trying to get across from one side of the garden to the other side of the garden. And we're meeting all these woodland creatures and different bugs, flowers, everything along. And we would love for you to voice one of the characters. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you a couple lines. And then hopefully, if all goes according to plan, as we hope it's going to, at the end of a season, we're going to take all of our different guests' voices and we're going to edit together and animate a little cartoon. And then everybody gets to be a voice in the cartoon. Everyone gets to be a voiceover actor. Oh. You, however, happen to be here on one of the most ridiculous days in the world, and you are going to get to experience something that nobody has in a while, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll get to have again, but we don't know. And that is, we're going to give you some of the lines, and you're going to read them, but then Andrea Romano is going to give you some direction.
You know, you hear people talk about being put in a situation where the pressure might get to you. This could potentially be one of those times in life.
I don't think the pressure is going to get to you at all. You are simply being put on the spot to do cartoon voices with a living legend.
No big deal. No big deal.
She's going to go easy on you.
A totally normal day.
I hope so.
So here,
what are the lines?
Yeah, here are the lines.
Write these down. He should write this down.
Yeah, can you grab something to write these down? They're very simple. There's going to be... There's going to be 3 lines. They're very, very simple.
Okay. 3 lines.
All right.
Very simple.
Do you speak German, and how are you with iambic pentameter? I'm kidding, of course.
No.
I'm kidding.
He's messing with you.
I am kidding. So the first line, to give you some context, so the last time we met our characters, we had been picked up by a hummingbird who was voiced by the amazing Phil Lamar. And we are, then we met one of our other fans came in and did the voice of a rabbit who is looking for her name. And so the last direction we got from Phil Lamar was if we keep going straight, we go around a tree and we keep going straight around the tree. So what we thought would be fun is there's some sort of either flower, creature, bug that's right around the other side of the tree. You get to pick whatever you'd like to be. And you're not happy that we are coming near your tree. So your first line is simply going to be, this is my tree. This is my tree. Okay. That's line number 1. Second line is, get away from my tree.
Okay.
The third line is going to be, okay, fine. Just keep going that way, and the mall is on your left. And your final line is going to be, you're welcome, and don't come back.
Okay.
Now, George, you have any idea what kind of character you'd like to be?
Let's do... Did you say Caterpillar's already taken?
No, Caterpillar, whatever you want to do.
Taken.
What do you think, Christy?
No, I love Caterpillar.
Caterpillar sounds fun.
All right.
So I'll be a Caterpillar.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So we ready for this, Christy? We're not going to do many lines this time. We're leaving this to you and to Andrea now. So like a real VO session, you're going to be recording your dialogue here.
Okay. Are you speaking in between his lines? Will you be speaking to him in between his lines?
No, we'll just do this clean for him.
Okay, so you'll read him into it, and then he'll respond.
Correct.
This is my tree.
Yeah. We'll do something like that.
And am I meant to interrupt him while he's working, or let him get through his 4 lines?
Up to you. Whatever you want.
Very good. I'm thinking, George, I'm going to start directing already. I'm thinking that since this is the first time you're actually going to be doing this, go ahead and go through all 4 lines, just so you can kind of create the voice, and I won't judge. Nobody will judge you from the very beginning. We're going to let you use these 4 lines to find the voice, okay?
And then we'll judge you.
And then we'll judge you.
Caterpillar.
Makes sense. Okay, doable.
Caterpillar, I love it. Okay.
Caterpillar. Okay,
ready?
All right.
And if for any reason, George, this doesn't work, I have an idea for you, okay?
Okay. Of course.
You're not in this alone. We're all in this together.
Okay, all right, perfect. So glad to hear.
We come up, and there are Mocha Mouse and Ricky Mouse, brother and sisters, who are coming around a big tree. Take it, Christy.
All right, so just follow me. Okay, Ricky? We just have to head over here.
Yeah, I know. I think this is the tree that he said we were supposed to go to, but it's like really tall and it's kind of scaring me.
Oh, Ricky, will you just do your deep breath exercises, please? There's a caterpillar. Hello, caterpillar. How are you?
This is my tree.
That's rude. Okay. We're supposed to go around you, so can you please move?
Get away from my tree.
I think that's probably good advice. Maybe we'll just get away because he seems
Ricky,
like he doesn't want us here.
I've got this.
You always say
Excuse
that,
me.
but then I end up getting hurt or something.
We have to get around this tree, okay? So you have to move so we can go. Don't be rude.
Could you at least tell us which way we have to go to get to the mall?
Okay, fine. Just keep going that way, and the mall is on the left.
Thank you. That's very helpful. We'll see ya.
You're welcome. Don't come back.
Very good.
There's your scene.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay. So many good instincts there, George. So many good instincts. What you did that I find was so interesting is both Christy and Will had chosen kind of laid back, slow-paced voices. And you went for a higher pitched, annoyed. I would say annoyed is a really good description for this caterpillar. Yes, do you agree?
Yeah,
annoyed?
I felt that
He's annoyed
way.
by this. I love it. I love it. I think another thing we can do to contrast with them is play with the pace a little bit. Okay. So if they're slow and hesitant, you can be faster. And I'm not saying rapid fire fast. I just mean faster. Now, let me ask you, when they come around your tree, what are you doing?
I was trying to collect some stuff, gathering some of my things, and I'm kind of annoyed because you kind of interrupted me.
Excellent. Excellent. That's so good. You have to have what happened before so that you know how to come into it. That's excellent. So I want you to give me 3 readings of This Is My Tree. And don't be afraid to add a hey in the front of it. I'm not sure exactly what will lead into it, but if adding something to it but give me 3 completely different versions of that. But Christy, will you read him into it so that he has something to act off of? Anything along the lines of, and you did it already naturally, so go ahead and just give him a reading, and he's going to do 3 in a row.
This is some caterpillar. Ricky, just calm down. Hi, we need to get around your tree.
Hello, this is my tree.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm sorry, I want you to do 2 more times. Do that same line 2 more times.
I messed up.
That's right.
See? I messed up. Can I lead him in again? I messed him up.
Yes, you may. Come in again. And George,
I'll give you the 3.
You're going to do 3, and each one different. I don't want 3 of the same version. I want 3 completely different takes. Okay, go ahead again, Christy.
Ricky, just follow me. Look, there's a caterpillar. Maybe he'll know what this is about. Hi, caterpillar. We need to get around your tree.
Hello. This is my tree. This is my tree. Oh, yes, but this is my tree.
It's terrific. Those are 3 nice different versions, but I don't think they were any faster than your original. So I want to do 3 faster. Again, just to play with the pace so that your pace is different from them. So let's go a little bit deeper into your pre-life here, right?
Oh, okay.
You've been collecting things. You're doing whatever. Maybe you're getting ready to metamorphosize. Turn into a butterfly.
That works.
So there's an urgency here, right?
Okay.
And so they're stopping you from doing the things that you need to do this thing. So I want to hear a really good attack on the top of the line. Okay. They're annoying you. You seem to lose a little bit of the annoying factor on this read. Let Christy's character, what was the name of her character again?
Mocha Mouse.
Mocha Mouse is really annoying you. So read him into it again, Christy. And again, give me 3.
Really
each one, and let's do it this way, George. 3 of them, each one a little bit faster and a little more annoyed. Okay?
Ooh, okay.
3 in a row, each one a little faster and a little more annoyed.
Ricky, let's just go over here, okay? Just follow me and we'll talk to this caterpillar. Hi, caterpillar. We're here because we have to get around this tree.
Hello, this is my tree. This here's my tree. This is my tree.
Good. Better.
That was great.
But what's the operative word here? This is my tree, right?
Okay.
Hey, this is my tree. Get the heck out of here. So hit the my a little bit more.
Okay.
And you're enjoying Christy's performance too much. I see you smiling. I know. I see you smiling.
The little mouse.
There you go. But you're smiling, and then
mouse.
it's taking you a second to get to the annoyed. So I need you to be cranky and perturbed, and already you've been interrupted 10 times trying to get this errand done that you're working on. And I want you to use the word hey as your first word, okay? Just snap that out at her, okay?
Okay.
And make sure that you hit the word my. Okay, Christy, read him in one more time, please.
You got it. Can he cut me off?
Sure.
Okay, so you can almost cut me off too if you want. Okay.
Interrupt her. Yep.
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so Ricky, just follow me, okay? Just deep breaths, don't be scared. It's just a caterpillar. Hi, caterpillar. Hey, excuse me. We have to get around.
This is my tree.
Hold on. You have to hear her. You have to make sense of what she's saying, right? You have to hear her say that she has to get around the tree.
Okay.
Right? That's when you respond, hey, this is my tree. You can't get around this tree. You can't have anything but get around my tree. Right? So let her at least get through the word tree before you interrupt. And maybe just end it with the word tree. Don't even interrupt. You know what I mean, Christy?
Perfect.
And that way you'll know when to come in. Okay. One more time, please, you guys.
Ricky, just take some deep breaths, okay? We're just gonna walk around and look, there's a caterpillar. Hi, Mr. Caterpillar. We need to get around this tree.
Hey, this is my tree. Hey, this is my tree. Hey, this is my tree.
And one more for me, George. Hey, this is my tree.
Hey, this is my tree.
Hit the my a little bit more. You're hitting my and tree the same way. I need you to hit the my. Hey, this is my tree. It's not your tree. It's my tree. One more.
Hey, this is my tree, not your tree.
There you go. That's perfect. I love that one. I love that one.
That's the take.
And now, get away from my tree. I want you to do that one for me in that same voice that you just established, George. The voice is a little bit different and it's good. Get away from my tree. Just give me that 3 times, please.
Get away from my tree. Get away from my tree. Get away from my tree.
That's good. And now I want you to do 3. All 3 of those were fine, but they were very similar. Can you do the same thing? Keep that fast pace, keep the same voice, and just make sure they're all a little more different. I mean, you can hit different words, whatever you want to do. 3 more.
Okay. Get away from my tree. Get away from my tree. Get away from my tree.
I love that last one. Very good. Thank you. And then, okay, fine. Just keep going that way. The mall's on the left. Okay, fine. I'd love to hear a sigh through. Okay, fine. Right? Okay, fine. Just put a sigh. And that, I say to you as an animator, gives the animator something to play with, right? The creature's going to go, okay, fine. It'll give them something to play with. Just keep going that way and get them out of there faster. Just go around that way. The mall's over there. Okay? Use the words that you have. Give me 3 in a row. Go for it.
Okay, fine. Just keep going that way. The mall's on the left. Okay, fine. Just keep going that way. The mall is on your left. Okay, fine. Just keep going that way. The mall is on the left.
I loved it. Love that last one too. It might be a noise in it, but it was very good. And then let's try something with that last line, George. Really sweet on "You're welcome," and then make a big turn on the end. Call out to them. They're already on their way. And don't go. Okay, you know what I mean?
Okay.
You're welcome. Genuine, nice, and then mean and loud for the second half.
Okay.
Go for it. 3 in a row. Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't come back. You're welcome. Don't come back. You're welcome. And don't come back.
Oh, I like that last one. Good for you. Oh, damn it.
No, it was perfect.
Excellent. Very well done. Good job.
Thank
Good for you. And let me just say that animator turned voice actor has worked very well for Eric Bauza.
Yeah.
So don't let this discourage you in any way that you're making that, trying to make that transition.
George.
Do we know what his animation work is? I mean, when you say you're an animator, that covers so many things. What do you do?
No.
Well, look, can you see, Andrea? Can you see your screen?
Oh my gosh!
Like stuff like that.
Yeah. So, are you a character designer?
I definitely do dabble in the designing of characters.
Okay.
But there you go.
Because animator covers so much. Animator is just such a huge term that there's
super talented artists who just got to experience something that not a lot of people do, my friend. So this is a day. This is a story you'll tell.
Apparently.
Exactly.
What is even reality anymore? Like,
exactly. I think that's all you need to know. Before you go, George, really quickly, what are your socials? People can reach out and they can follow you on. What do you got?
Georgie's World, WHIRLD on Instagram, and then George Leiva, my last name, Leiva on Facebook.
There you go. Well, go check out everything that Georgie does because he is obviously a brilliant artist and, dare I say, an up-and-coming voiceover actor.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing your name in the end credits of some cartoon in the future, George.
Exactly. You can put directed by Andrea Romano on your resume, and only a select few of us can, my friend, so that is pretty amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, George. We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Nice meeting you, my friend.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
That was fun.
That was awesome.
I like directing.
Did you miss it?
I'm sorry. I got butterflies just watching that again. I really did.
Actually, my face hurts from smiling so much.
That
was
brings
such a
you right back in the day. I also just what I'd like to say very quickly. I think one of the reasons why you're so good at it is not only because you love it, but because, like you said before, you've done it all. So you were an actor, you were an agent, you were a casting director, you were a voice director. There is no side, other than maybe drawing, there is no side of the animation industry that you haven't done.
Right.
I think that.
So I married the
artist. Exactly. Christy married the producer. You married the artist. It's amazing.
Excellent.
So that was wow. That just watching.
Would you ever produce? Would you ever produce?
You know, I have been asked that so many times, and absolutely not. Not the least bit interested. Way too much responsibility. Just way too much responsibility.
That's how I feel about directing.
Is that right?
For like directing on camera stuff, everyone's like, "You want to be a director because you're an actor, right?" It's like I have no desire to ever do that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I hear you.
Oh my. Well,
I miss you, Will.
I miss you too,
And Christy,
Andre.
this has been such a pleasure spending time with you.
Yeah. Well, now
you guys are going to meet up at the next family reunion.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You should do it. Could you guys do a Batman like reunion?
We do
not filmed, but just like for friendship, like go to a bar and like see each other.
Oh yeah, well we do stuff at conventions, and when the world, you know, again being healthy. But Andrea and I, we'd see each other. I mean, Andrea came to my wedding, flew to Connecticut, and was at my wedding.
Oh,
so I mean, we've known each other for a very long time.
Quite a bit.
Yeah,
we used to hang quite a bit, and then you got married.
Yeah, and then the wife came into the picture.
So I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy.
Well, that makes one of us. Yikes! I love my wife, and I would only say that in the middle of a soundproof booth.
There you go.
Which is true. But no, this has been so amazing to have you here, and just again, we can't gush about you enough, and everything you've done, not only in the industry but for the industry. I mean, just a game changer on so many different levels. And I know you said that you're so happy in retirement, and that it would take the Brinks truck backing up to your house. I understand that, but just being able to watch you do that again, man, there's so many people that would love to be able to see that again. So hopefully,
and she's worth it. She's worth it. So
I hope that some project's going to come along that you're going to say, I have to come back and do this again. So
I hope that happens too. Frankly, I do. As soon as I get into doing it again, I'm so happy. I love it so much. It's a wonderful art form. It is, and it melds with my persona, my personal.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. The way I am,
it's who you are.
It is. It's who I am. It was meant to be that I worked in the animation industry. It was predestined, and I didn't know it.
Well, that's pretty wonderful. And I can also tell you that our producer already chimed in, and she just in giant caps wrote, "This is only part 1."
Oh, good.
So much left to talk about.
That would make me happy. And,
so we found a loophole. We found a loophole to get you to direct.
Exactly.
I know. I love what you're doing with bringing these actors in and letting some fan in and letting them. It's a great idea, and I wish you a lot of luck with that, putting that all together. Good for you.
Well, we appreciate that.
Very cool thing.
It is a ton of fun.
And I want to see it when it's done.
Yeah, definitely. It's just this all started because at conventions we got so many people saying, "I want to be a voiceover actor. I'm good at it. I do funny voices. I do this," and it's like, all right, well, let's give you a shot. So I can tell you though that this is George is going to be the only actor who's got directed by Andrea Romano. Oh my! As they said in Troy, Achilles is teaching you how to fight. Kings and queens would kill for the chance. So yes, just for the opportunity of that. But Andrea, we love you so much. Thank you. This is absolutely only part 1.
All right, then. Let me do more, please.
I think we've done an hour and a half, and we're up to 1987.
I know. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. We didn't even talk about, any of the Nickelodeon stuff. We didn't discuss
we've got
Avatar, The Last Airbender.
So much more.
Did you guys hear when the pandemic started, it was the #1 Netflix show for like the first month of the pandemic.
Because everyone's binging it.
Absolutely. And it's such a great show to binge.
It's an amazing show.
I love it.
I love that. Oh, we're so happy.
3 different takes.
Andrea, thank you so much.
I don't want to leave you. Thank you, you guys.
I hear voices.